Hey guys, Chastity and Greg here, back to break down Star Trek Discovery Season 3, Episode 4, Forget Me Not.
Of course, there are major spoilers ahead, so if you haven't seen this episode yet, get out of here, go watch it, and then come on back.
So the episode starts with Culber, and he's narrating about how the jump into the future has affected the crew emotionally and mentally, and how it's just taken a toll on them. They are just run ragged, they feel lost, they feel disconnected. How do they recover from that?
Good question, because Culber, as we saw a couple episodes prior when he witnessed Detmer and he knew something was wrong with her, it seems she's still having issues right now, or PTSD, a lot of issues right now with what's going on. And Culber tells her that he's there to talk to her whenever she needs, but right now she's very hesitant.
But the one thing that does keep them going is their quest to find the Federation, so at least there is still hope.
Last week we met Adira, who's a human who has been joined with the Trill symbiont. One of the symbiont's former hosts was Admiral Tal, who recorded the transmission that Burnham found. However, Adira is having trouble accessing Admiral Tal's memories, which contain information about Starfleet and possibly the location of Federation headquarters.
As we see in the medical scans, every critical system in Adira's body is connected to the symbiont. But Adira doesn't remember how they got the symbiont, and something is blocking their memories. As there's no precedent for Adira's situation, Culber proposes taking them to Trill to seek help unlocking Tal's memories. However, no one's seen a human host before, so they may or may not be willing to help.
Discovery makes the jump to Trill, and they make contact with Commissioner Voss, who's happy to see the Federation starship and welcomes them. Saru tells them that they have a host and a symbiont that needs medical attention. Voss says that the Trill population was decimated by the burn, and to have a symbiont return home is a blessing.
Yeah, so the burn comes up again, and now we see how it affects people on an individual level, like planet by planet. So Trill decimated. There's just not enough hosts. Next, Saru checks on Stamets after making jumps so quickly after being impaled and in a coma. Saru points out that the spore drive is even more valuable now that dilithium is scarce, and insists that they need the ability to use it without Stamets. Saru tells Stamets and Tilly to find a solution together.
Tilly wants a new interface with dark matter, so we're going to hear that a lot now. So, cool, I guess. I don't know what the hell's going to happen to the ship, but Stamets isn't too thrilled with this situation, or because he considers himself the ship. He's like, no, it's me. I'm the one who helps everyone here on this ship. I run it, damn it.
He needs to let that go. And Saru's absolutely right. They need to figure out a way to not depend on Stamets because there's no dilithium. We just have to remember that. Like, it's just so scarce. Like, now the Discovery is even more valuable. Next, Culber talks to Burnham and tells her that she should take Adira to the surface, as Adira needs emotional support. Burnham says she doesn't even know how to deal with being on the ship right now. I don't know. I think it would have been a really great opportunity to develop Culber's character and give Culber more screen time. When Culber started off the narration at the beginning, I was hoping to get a Culber-heavy episode, and this would have been a really good opportunity, but instead, it's just shoehorning Michael into every single storyline again.
The reason being is because remember what Michael does later with her new lawless form. This is a different Michael, remember?
Right.
So she doesn't follow Starfleet protocol to the books anymore. She's been here for a year, and so she's doing things that maybe Culber probably wouldn't have done to get things, or at least to get the ball rolling when it comes to what we see later in the caves.
That's true. But also he died, and he's different now as well, but maybe not as lawless as Burnham yet. Together, they take a shuttlecraft down to Trill's lush surface. Planet Trill is located in the Alpha Quadrant. We first learned about the Trill species in detail in the TNG episode The Host, and we learned more about Trill and the planet Trill in DS9, which featured the most famous Trill in Trek, Jadzia Dax.
Commander Voss greets Burnham and Adira and introduces them to Guardian Z of the spiritual community, and Leader Pav.
And Leader Pav is played by Karen Robinson, who you might recognize from Schitt's Creek, where she plays Ronnie.
When the Trill find out that Adira is the host, they're put off by the fact that Adira is human. Then Michael explains that Adira is unable to access the memories of the symbiont, and that's why they've come.
In 2,000 years, there hasn't been a single recorded instance of a successful joining between a symbiont and a non-Trill species. It's a miracle this symbiont is still alive.
Adira says the symbiont is a part of them, but Voss calls Adira an abomination and says the symbiont must be separated, which of course means Adira would die. Voss says they are not Federation members and Burnham has no jurisdiction there. Z explains that they no longer have enough viable hosts after the burn and that Adira could be the future if they looked beyond the Trill. He asks Leader Pav to let them take Adira to the caves of Macala where their symbiont might be able to communicate. So for some context here, the caves of Macala are these underground caves where the symbionts live, breed, and are born, and they're able to communicate with each other.
Leader Pav says they won't force a separation, but that the joining is an aberration. Michael calls it a miracle and says that Tal wanted them to receive his message. So at this point, Leader Pav commands them to leave Trill immediately.
But they're not going to.
No, of course not. As soon as Michael gets Adira outside, what happens? Michael goes into full-on new Michael, I guess, new Burnham mode of the
going rogue.
The new timeline they're in.
She's
going rogue, of course. And this is probably why you didn't have Culber or someone else go down, because she's the only one who probably would have done this. So sure enough, with the help of Z, they're able to get back into the caves.
And back on the Discovery, Culber reports to Saru that the crew is physically sound, but their stress hormone levels are off the charts. They need some way to feel connected. Saru asks the computer for ideas on how to help the crew, and it starts off with basic answers like exercise, coloring books, and shopping.
Computer?
Hello.
So after Saru said he needed something meaningful, something changed the computer. We see something visually happening to it. And then it starts talking in different accents and voices. And so I think what's happening here is that the sphere data has affected the computer. So when the computer failed to come up with an answer that was sufficient for Saru on its own, it was like, oh, I have this whole resource of information, the sphere data. I'm just going to dig into here a little bit. And that affected the computer.
Obviously, this has major implications for the future of this ship. As we already know, something happens to the ship from the short trek way back, where it's way off into the future as well. So we know that something's going on with the sphere data. Now, if you're going to take this like Marvel, Jarvis, now it's turning into or Friday or whatever. Now, okay, so is this going to be something like Vision, or are we going to get something like Ultron?
Ooh. So understandably, Saru's a little weirded out, has the computer run a diagnostic, and it says it's fully operational. Then the computer says the crew requires rest and relaxation, suggesting giving the crew the night off and showing gratitude with a private meal for the bridge crew.
Next, we reach the sacred caves of Makala. We've seen these caves before in DS9, first shown in the episode Equilibrium. You can see the symbionts communicate with each other via electrical pulse within the pools of milky water. Z says this is the symbiont's ancestral home, so he or she should be able to communicate with them. When, of course, we'll see how this goes, as we saw it again in the episode Equilibrium, where you should probably watch that one if you haven't seen it
Please
yet.
Do. It's really good. Greg recommended it, and now I understand what's happening in this episode way more. We see Guardian Z checking the pools. He tells Burnham a symbiont can't thrive in an unwilling host. He theorizes that it's a repressed memory related to the joining, and Adira will need to face it. Then, just like Equilibrium, we see Adira come out in a white tunic like Jadzia Dax did, and then go into the pools to start communicating with the symbiont. Adira lays in the water, pupils turn white, and that signifies being in communion.
Back on Discovery, Saru's having a private dinner for the bridge crew, including Giorgio. Everyone's throwing out their haikus until it gets to Detmer.
Stamets' blood is so red.
Yeah, this is just another sign of her PTSD, and it's even kind of just manifested in the haiku itself. Like, judging from the contents of it, she has PTSD, and it's obvious now. Meanwhile, in the caves, Adira's levels are dropping, so Michael begs the Trill leaders to let her jump in to save Adira. They agree, but the clock is ticking. With the help of neural stabilizers, Michael is linked with Adira's symbiont conscience.
Now, that shot of Michael falling, it looks a lot like Jordan Peele's Get Out. I couldn't help but notice that. And with Michael's help, Adira connects with the symbiont to finally get back the memories lost. And first, we get flashbacks to her love, Greg, her Trill boyfriend who underwent the symbiont procedure.
So the Tal symbiont successfully merged with Grey, but then all of a sudden there was a huge accident, something hit the ship, and so Adira decided to take on the symbiont before Grey's death.
And soon the Tal host memories start to return. Chastity, at this point my worries shifted from Adira and her health all the way to how much money am I going to spend on these Starfleet uniforms and the Federation uniforms that they revealed here, including Senna Tal's.
Tal accepts Adira as the new host in a beautiful scene.
Tal accepts you as well.
Out of the cave pool, Adira speaks the names of the past hosts. So the leaders apologize, and Guardian Z is praised for his work, which could mean something new for the Trill in the future.
And back on the ship, Tilly tells Saru that he's becoming a great leader, and Stamets comes in to apologize, and the two agree to work together on the dark matter interface for the ship.
Meanwhile, Detmer finally talks to Culber and admits that something is wrong. It's about time.
This brings back all the memories of TNG, and we're all saying at the same time, this ship really needs Deanna Troi.
Yes.
Let's see where this goes. I'm guessing that's going to be Culber this season, but we'll see.
So earlier the ship computer suggested a Buster Keaton film to Saru, so he plays that for everyone and they all start to bond and have a nice moment where they get to laugh.
And Culber says, "Good job, buddy," but then Saru tells him, "It wasn't me, it was the ship." And he has a theory that the sphere data is now merged with the ship and is trying to protect them. You better hope it's trying to protect them.
I hope so. And best of all, Adira is able to channel Senna's memories and gives Michael the location to Federation headquarters.
And this final scene mirrors a lot of, again, the DS9 episode Equilibrium, where Dax is just on the little keyboard. We get the same moment here with Tal. The only big difference here is Adira is not the only one in the room with her. It seems she can see her host now. She can see the past host.
Or at least Gray.
She's talking to Gray.
How's this supposed to work? I don't know.
And now for things we noticed and Easter eggs. In the episode, Culber says,
I tell them, I've been alone. I've been lost. Both are survivable.
Now this is a reference to Culber's previous storyline. After he was seemingly killed by Ash Tyler, Stamets unknowingly transferred Culber into the mycelial network, where he was trapped until he was discovered during a mission to rescue Tilly.
Adira says,
I can also speak 7 languages and cook a mean Bajoran Hosperat.
Bajoran refers to the species native to the planet Bajor, recognizable by a set of creases across their noses. Hosperat was a well-known spicy Bajoran food. On TNG, Ro Laren was a Bajoran who was fond of Hosperat, and learned a special recipe for it from her father.
Culber comments on how Burnham has been busy decorating. This is in comparison to Burnham's quarters in the previous season, which looked empty. This once again shows us how Burnham's personality has changed in the past year.
The caves of Macala are a series of interconnected underground caves on Trill. They were first shown in the DS9 episode Equilibrium. The caves contain interconnecting pools of a milk-like substance, which are the natural environment of Trill symbionts. There, they breed and are born and communicate with each other via electrical pulses. The Guardians, like Guardian Z, are a group of unjoined Trill who devote their lives to maintaining the pools for the symbionts.
At Saru's dinner for the bridge crew, the first shot we see are some fancy drinks. On the far left is Saurian Brandy, a popular social refreshment on starships made by Saurians. Lieutenant Linus of Discovery is a Saurian, and Saurian Brandy comes in a glass bottle with a long neck. It's popped up on Trek numerous times since the original series, and was the favorite drink of Captain Sisko on DS9.
Guardian Z explains the orb.
The orb will allow us to track her isoboromine levels.
Isoboromine is a neurotransmitter in Trill physiology that regulates the connections between the host and the symbiont. Low levels could be fatal to the host and or symbiont. If they drop below 40%, the symbiont has to be removed.
You checking my isoboromine levels?
Yes.
How low are they?
They've fallen to 73% of normal.
In an unexpected Star Trek and Twin Peaks crossover, Admiral Tal is played by actor Kenneth Welsh, who played Wyndham Earle on Twin Peaks. He's one of many actors who have appeared on both Star Trek and Twin Peaks, including Ray Wise and Richard Beymer. Alright, that's it for this episode, but be sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next breakdown for episode 5.
Let us know what you thought of the episode in the comment section down below, and we'll see you back here next week. Bye-bye.